Welcome to our channel Concept Builders by Neeraj Putadra. Do subscribe to our channel for latest videos. Today's topic is who can file application for CIRP under section 6 of IBC. Where any corporate debtor commits a default, a financial creditor, an operational creditor, or the corporate debtor itself may initiate a corporate insolvency resolution process in respect of such corporate debtor in the manner prescribed by the code. So if I have to break this definition in smaller pieces, what are the critical components? The first component is there has to be a corporate debtor who has committed a default. So there has to be a default what has been committed. That default has to be against a financial creditor or an operational creditor, and that's why financial creditor and the operational creditor can file an application of CIRP. The fifth part of the definition says that corporate debtor himself. So for example, if I am a corporate debtor and I have committed a default and I know that, and if I want to initiate a CIRP against myself, I can also initiate that. And the last component is where is the process for the entire CIRP given? The process of CIRP has been laid down under the code under this particular chapter. So to understand this entire gimmicks of who are the people involved under CIRP, we need to understand the definition and meaning of all the three people: corporate debtor, financial creditor, and operational creditor. So the code has laid down the manner in which they have to file the application for corporate debtor in section 10, for financial creditor in section 7, and for operational creditor in section 8 and 9. We will do a detailed video about these four sections on some other day. Today now let's focus on what are these three people and how they are defined under the act. Corporate debtor. Corporate debtor means a corporate person who owes debt to any person. So in simple words, if you have to understand, if you have taken any money from somebody or any goods from somebody and you have not repaid that person as of now, then you are a corporate debtor who owes a money to somebody, and that's why you can initiate a process against yourself in case you commit a default. What do you mean by default? Default is something which happens on a particular date. So say for example your bill was getting payable on the 90th day. Okay, so that period before the 90th day, if you have not paid somebody, you are not in default. But once the 90th day mark is over, then you become a person in default. Section 3(7) of the Act defines corporate person. Corporate person means a company, a limited liability partnership, or any other person incorporated with a limited liability. So basically, corporate debtor, if you have to understand the definition, who all will come under a corporate debtor? The corporate person will come under the definition of corporate debtor, and corporate person will involve a company which is registered under Companies Act, a LLP which is registered under the Limited Liability Partnership Act, and any other person incorporated with a limited liability. That is, it can be a society or a trust, something like that. Now let's come to who is a corporate applicant. Okay, so from a corporate side, if it's a company, then who can become the applicant on the part of the company itself? If the company ABC Limited has made a default, so on part of company, who can file the application? So the corporate debtor himself. So the company by itself can file a application. A member or the partner of the corporate debtor can file the application. An individual who is charged of the management of the operation of the corporate debtor, like somebody, like if you ask me, the directors of the company. A person who has control and supervision of the financial affair of the corporate company. So here people like CFO can come. Okay. And point number 5A has the newer insertion. The corporate guarantor means a corporate person who is the surety in a contract of the corporate guarantee to a corporate debtor. So for example, you have given a guarantee on behalf of ABC Limited for a particular transaction that ABC Limited has done with an operational creditor. In that case, you will be also categorized as a corporate applicant. Now let's come to the definition of creditor. This is one of the most important definition. So let's take an example and try to understand who all can be a creditor of a company. So say for example, there is a ABC Limited. Okay, it's a corporate debtor. Okay, it's a company incorporated in India. So in simple words, it's a corporate debtor. It took a loan from SBI. Okay, it took a loan from SBI of 100 crores. Okay, and pays an interest of 10%. So this particular SBI becomes a financial creditor. Okay, this ABC Limited purchases plastic granules from Reliance. Okay, and those plastic granules are used for manufacturing some another products in the manufacturing unit of ABC Limited. Then this Reliance becomes a operational creditor of the ABC Limited. Okay, now it can happen a operational creditor can be both secured and unsecured. And the last part what it covers is a decree holder. Decree holder is nothing but a person who has won a case against you and by court order he is supposed to receive any money from you. Section 311 of the Act talks about the definition of debt. Debt means a liability or the obligation in respect of a claim which is due from any person and includes financial debt as well as operational debt. So we already discussed a debt means a money what you are supposed to pay to somebody and which has become due. The obligation of that money is due. So till it is not due, it is not in debt for you. Till it is not due, it will only be a creditor in your book. The once the money becomes due on in that respect, then it becomes a debt. And debt can be both financial debt and operational debt. So अगर आपको in simple terms the SBI debt what is here is a financial debt, the Reliance debt what is here is a operational debt. In very simple terms, if we have to learn it by remember it with an example, this is the example what we need to remember. Section 520, what is an operational creditor? So in our example, we studied that operational creditor is nothing but a Reliance kind of a company who is just giving me some services or some products which I am going to use in my business for making some another products overall. So operational creditor, if I have to read the definition, means a person to whom an operational debt is owed and includes any person to whom such debt has been legally assigned or transferred. So what do you mean by legally assigned or transferred? Say for example, Reliance was my actual corporate creditor. I had purchased material for 10 crores for him. Okay, but Reliance told me that I am not interested to collect any money from you because I am busy in 10 other things. I am assigning this particular debt to Wipro. Reliance told I am assigning this particular debt to Wipro. So now Wipro has all the rights and responsibilities that a Reliance had in relation to the debt which I owe to them. Okay, so any debt which has been transferred also on behalf of an operational creditor will be termed as operational creditor only. What do you mean by operational debt? Section 521 of the code defines operational debt means a claim in respect of a provision of the goods. Please remember every point which I am marking here. Provision of good or services including employment or a debt in respect of payment of dues arising under the law. Okay, so what does it mean? That I purchase some product from Reliance, that is for sure a operational debt. I purchase some services from Wipro, that is also operational debt. I have certain employees to whom I have not paid their salaries or their bonuses and all, they are also operational debt. And over and above everything, the government dues, okay, any law which is putting any liability on me, like tax liability, GST liability, all those things have been categorized as a operational debt. So here is the magic of the entire code. Here the code by itself, the government has told that my dues are at pari passu with the other operational debts only. I am not going to take the first charge of the liquidation money what has been going to come. I will not take the first charge in the CIRP process. I will be as at the pari passu with the operational creditor. So here we need to understand the importance what government has put on the financial creditors of the company and why they are more important in the entire picture of IBC. So now let's understand, if so much of importance has been given to financial creditor, then it becomes very critical for us to understand what is the definition of the financial creditor, what do they mean and what all things do they consist of. 5.7 of the code defines financial creditor to mean any person to whom a financial debt is owed and include the person to whom a financial debt has been legally assigned. So in simple terms, the way we understood for the operational debt, if it has been assigned from one person to another person, then it is the other person becomes the operational debt owner. Same goes for a financial debt. Say for example, HDFC had given me a loan but then HDFC assigned that loan to Axis Bank. Then Axis Bank becomes a financial creditor. But here you need to understand one thing. Say for example, in our case, we had ABC Limited who had taken a operational creditor was a Reliance. Okay, and uska financial creditor was, this is a OC, and the financial creditor was SBI. Okay, FC. Now, say for example, if Reliance transfers its debt to SBI, then what happens? Okay, in that particular case, then SBI's FC liability does not increase. SBI plays a two role in this particular position. SBI will be a financial creditor in respect of the financial debt what it has provided to ABC Limited, and it will also be an operational creditor for the Reliance money transferred to him in relation to the debt from ABC Limited. So if somebody, a operational creditor, if transfers its debt to the financial creditor, the nomenclature of the debt has to be seen, and that's why it will be categorized as operational creditor only, and vice versa. If a financial creditor transfers its debt to operational creditor, then it will be considered as a financial debt only. What do you mean by financial debt? This is one of the most key part of the entire code. So please focus for next 5 minutes on this particular definition. Section 5.8 of the code defines financial debt to mean a debt along with interest. So please note that debt along with interest, if any, which is disbursed against the consideration for the value of time, value of money. Okay, so value of time, value of money, and it includes various things. It has given a very ex- extensive list of items which it includes. So in simple terms, if I have to explain you, then any contract which you have entered which has a component of interest as well as time value of money, okay, then that particular kind of contract will be classified as a financial debt. In simple words, any loan what you have taken which has an interest. So now you can ask me, sir, if I have taken a loan for a 0% also, whether that is also categorized here. So it is debatable. 0% is also a percentage, and if it is a time value attached to it, then you can take it considered as a financial debt. But it can be a related party transaction or a preferential transaction. Because it is a 0%, that we will discuss in the preferential transaction section 43 of the act. What all things does a financial debt include? Financial debt includes, basically, I will sum it up into very simple languages. The act has given very elaborative language, you can read it by yourself. But it includes loan, working capital loan, term loan, bonds, notes, debentures that are issued, any lease or hire purchase contract that company has done, any receivables that are sold on a non-recourse basis, that is non-collateral based factoring, any commercial effect of a borrowing, any transaction which you have done which has a commercial effect of the borrowing, that will be considered as a financial debt. So to explain the impact of commercial effect of borrowing, there is an explanation given to it. Okay, the explanation clearly states only one thing, that any real estate project personal who has put the money in a real estate, like I am buying a flat in a particular project and I have given my money for that particular project, then I will also be classified as a financial creditor only. So this explanation talks about that. And lastly, it includes any counter indemnity obligations which have been given from one party to another party for this particular purposes. So to sum the entire discussion, what we had till now and what we have understood, the act revolves around three people. One is the corporate debtor, one is the financial creditor, and one is the operational creditor. There was a lot of hue and cry against the disparity given between the operational creditor and the financial creditor. But as the code matured, there were a lot of cases which went till the level of Supreme Court, and there was a proper bifurcation of the uh, rights responsibility of both financial creditor and the operational creditor had been done. In the one of the main case law which you can refer for this particular purpose is the Swiss ribbon case law. It is a landmark judgment by Supreme Court itself, which has clearly bifurcated what is the difference between financial creditor and the operational creditor. The financial creditor and the financial debt makes it clear that a financial debt is a debt together with interest, if any, which is distributed against the consideration of time value of money. It may further be said that money that is borrowed or raised in any of the manner prescribed in section 5.8 or otherwise as section 5.8 is inclusive definition. So what all were the things in section 5.8? All these things, which is like loan, term loan, working capital, money raised by way of bonds, notes, derivatives, hire purchase, non-collateral based factoring, all those things will be included. And on another hand, this particular landmark judgment defined financial debt also. Financial debt would include a claim in respect of the provision of goods and services, including employment, or a debt in respect of payment dues arising out of any law. So what it said is the financial creditors generally lend finances for on a term loan or a working loan basis, and that's why they take a higher risk in comparison to an operational creditor. Generally, financial debt is very large in comparison to an operational debt. Okay, that's why there is a clear differentiation between a financial creditor and the operational creditor, and that's why they both have to be ranked separately, and different roles and responsibilities have been assigned to both of them in the CIRP process. What are the responsibilities? What is the structure of the way the application has to be made? We will study in our next session. Thank you for the day. I welcome you all for listening to my lectures. I have got very nice reviews from everybody of you. Really thanks. Please subscribe to my channels. I will keep posting videos on IBC and register valuer examinations. Thank you.